A good Chodesh Rabboisai. Eli Nishmas Mimeros was Mordechai live from Merchant One in Miami. Shukar for coming. Thanks to all the guests. Tomorrow seems like the last and final shir for me for a few months. I'm going to be back, Be'ezer Hashem, February time. But Wednesday morning, my wife surprised me with some tickets to Chicago, back to Chicago. Before we start shir, let's start with a Kapitel Tehillim, Kapitel Kuf Lamed, Shir Mazmim Makim. We'll say it all together. Shir Hamalois Mimamakim, Krosicho Adonai, Adonai Shema B'Koli, Tiena Oznecha Kashuvois, L'Kol Tachanunoi, Im Avoinois Tishmorio, Adonai Mi Amoy, Ki Imcho Aslicha Lemati Vorei, Kivisi Adonai Kivson Nafshi V'Doro Yecholti, Nafshi Ladonai Mishomrim LaBoiker, Shomrim LaBoiker, Yachel Yisrael El Adonai, Kim Adonai Yachesed V'Arbei Imo Yifedus, V'Hu Yivdes Yisrael Mikol Avonisav, Acheinu Kol Beis Yisrael Hanesunim B'Tzoro U'V'Shivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayom U'Bein Bayabosha, Hamokim Rachim Aleim Yitzim B'Tzoro L'Revacha, U'Meyafed L'Yoyra, U'Meshiba L'Gula, Hashta B'Galov Zman Korib, R'Maromei. Shir sponsored, Lili Nishmas, all the Heilige Neshamas that were lost, the 5,000 Chaylim, 239 kidnapped people. I think it just went down. They just found a woman. They thought she was kidnapped, but found her. She's not alive. That's how bad the bodies were burned, and it just a lot of tsar for the mishpachas. So everybody should have a neshama, and we should see a geula. Mashiach should come tomorrow or even tonight. We'll accept him also. A good Chodesh. Before we start, we have a very chashuv guest, all the way, two chashuv guests from Toronto. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name?
Shelly Saltzman.
Charlie?
Shelly
Saltzman. Shalom Aleichem. And Yitzi Feder. So when I was in Toronto last time, over a year ago, I met Yitzi in his shorts in the kitchen. What was his name? Our friend, AJ.
AJ Short.
Oh, he's wearing the whole merch. Beautiful. That's old merch. Wow. AJ Shore, that's right. He hosted us, put up a big siyum over there. And I spoke to you about joining the Daf. And Baruch Hashem, you haven't missed the Daf since that day. It was amazing. Rabbi Isai, here's some pictures. You don't have to send me anymore. These are pictures that I received 30 to 40, maybe some of them even 50 different people sent them in. So let me show you. You don't have to send it to me anymore. Thank you very much. This actually came with a little bit of a change. It says Babakama Bar B'Shus Rabim Asar Tzvachim. I got it without that Hesber, but it makes it even that much better. Here's a guy doing the daf inside a pit in Gaza. This I received many times. These are the Chaylim in the parliament in Gaza, and somebody put me in there. Then somebody even put this in there. It might take you a few seconds to chop the joke. I don't know if you remember that guy, but he's the guy that's a doctor. Hollywood. That he's Rafa. What's his name? Guy. He's the Hollywood guy. He had a baby. He was injured. He happened to see missiles. Then he was crying. Then he died, and now he's part of the shir. Everybody's like, here he is. He's part of the shir. Now he's what? Hollywood. In Hollywood. Yeah. He's a big actor. This is a beautiful picture of a guy learning the daf inside a tank. It says, "Acharei kiyum mitzvahs chisul mechablim lo shochim daf yomi." After the mitzvah to demolish the terrorists, we don't forget daf yomi. Rabbi Isai, West Hempstead has many groups that learn daf yomi. This is from Simi Sugar. Did I pronounce it? Wow. Our Chabura gets together after each Masechta to celebrate our accomplishments. There are a few of us who are MD Wyniks and who learn with you. I myself started with you, Yevamos Daf Beis, and was hooked with your overview. There's another email that I might read today that also the guy started from Yevamos Daf Beis. A lot of people left the shir on Yevamos Daf Beis. So there's two groups: those that stuck it out through Yevamos and those who did it. The introduction of the Baldwin brothers Daf, I don't bother. I'm going to be skipping around there, so not perfect. That's not how he wrote it. Daf has made a huge difference in my life. I was more of a Shabbos learner with a group of friends, more kibitzing than learning, but at least it was something. Daf Yomi Daf Yomi though is different. It's commitment to learn every day, usually early morning after Shalom before work. I started with the first Daf Bracha, and I've been your Talmud for nearly 2 years. Been live to Shurim and MDY RBS, Chicago Hatzlocha, and possibly tonight in Miami, which he is. I love how you teach, your energy, how you keep it interesting, the animations, a visual learner, and overall, this guy of Remy he's done. Chazaka, that's it. He's hooked for life, Bezer Hashem. Taking future learning Gemara with the 3D, maybe that's what he means. I've also started Shnai Mikra Targum with Bereshis using the Sefer of MDY. The Yomi has changed me for the better, a sense of purpose, being a part of a great chevra, and keeping me more focused. Thank you for the inspiration. Keep doing more. Enough about me. Attaches a picture from our Rasim Kedushin and say the Mayer from this past month's Shabbos, left to right. Yitzi Hollander, I'm going to show you the picture. So remember, Yitzi Hollander, Alan Schulman, he had the cake made, me in the middle. So you'll see Simi in the middle, Josh Feldman, and David Baratz. The MDY logo was a great added touch. We're all so excited each day and looking forward to Mr. making Siyum, to shots with you, fill the wires in Madison Square Garden if it's big enough. Shem should give you the strength, good health, and focus to keep going every day. I may have asked your Talmud, Simi, Shiger. P.S. Make sure to zoom in to see the MDY logo. What do you think I am? I take a picture and Shalom Yisrael. Here it is. Here's the picture of the cake, and he wants me to zoom in to see the MDY logo. That's how it is. It's a beautiful cake, rather. That doesn't matter. What, you guys ate it? It's not meant to be eaten. It says on the back, Mazel Tov, Daf Chevra of New Hempstead, West Hempstead. Aryeh, I can't pronounce his name. Anybody? Majirovitz? Something like that. The daily learning chart is amazing. Since he's anonymous, can you ask him? Can post the chart on the MDY website and made it available to download. Thank you, Aryeh. That's the chart that we had yesterday. The guy does Mishnah Yomi, this Yomi. So could you please put it on the site? Okay. Hi. Today you're privileged to get an email from Australia. I'd like to join the Daf. Don't worry, I'm not expecting to receive a Gemara. I think we do send Gemaras out there. People think Australia is an island with a bunch of zombies having to land on. No, we have some very hard. Farkish is there. Yumi and Hillel's brother. What's his name? I forgot his name already. We have a bunch of people there. There's a big chaver there. We have a koil. We have different communities. You can feel the tension of the war of Israel. A pro-Palestinian-owned restaurant burnt down, and they blamed it on the Jews for some odd reason. Kol Tov, Chazak Baruch, Avromi Bensky. What? Oh, I'm going the wrong way. 2-year anniversary. Rebelli. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn Daf with you. On 11/14, it will be 2 years that I started learning the Daf Tainus with you, and it's approximately 800 Daf and 12 Masechtas later. I never thought I could do it. I haven't missed a day for the last 2 years. Most of the time I learn with you, and sometimes with the Shul, Shabbos, and occasionally myself. I made a commitment to do Daf every morning after davening. My wife knows how important it is to me. Every so often during the day, I'm working, and I think about the Daf, he says. You hear this? He's thinking about the Daf in the middle of the day. Besides learning the Gemara, I've learned many things during the past 2 years that I never would have learned, including the many different halachas that we learn on a daily basis. I also just finished my first year of doing Shnai Mikra. I'm still continuing to do it every week. 2 people to talk about the Shnai Mikra. I know you stress limit Torah and do chesed. So my new goal this year is to do much chesed as I can, hopefully increase my learning at the same time. I'm currently involved with the local Talmud Shabbos, visit patients in the local hospital. Also 3 months ago, I was certified as a chaplain, so I may be the first MDY chaplain. I'm hoping, no, we have others. People, chaplains wrote in already. Expand the rise of chesed, my local. Thank you again. Hatzlocha. As you say, it's not about the Daf, it's about the Yomi, Jerry, Isaac. Oh, did I show the picture with your friends? I didn't.
Cake.
Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. You're right. He forgot. You didn't. See the attached photos from our celebration in Venice, Italy. We chose Venice because it is the city where the first shots was printed featuring the exact document that we currently have, the Tzur Sadaf. As I reflect, it's not FOMO that I'm experiencing from missing the significant shops in the U.S., but I now recognize it was a miscalculation on my part, and I deeply regret not attending. I've already began saving for the massive cruise in 3+ years, Gershon Rose. So I have some news for the Olam. I just spoke to the Chevra, and they want to make another Shabbos in a year from now. That's when we're going to finish. You hear? We're finishing Baba Kama, Baba Mitzia, and Baba Basra. And if you're new to the shir, you don't know, there's no shmoozing b'chlal during shir. You didn't know that? Okay. Because 20,000 people are going to hear you. It's not going to die. Yeah, no, even in Torah. Shmooze with me. And I'm going to knock you down. But whatever. So, this Shabbos is amazing. And we're looking forward. Maybe we'll do another one. Do we have time for another? No. Penny Gilden will do yours tomorrow, Beis Hashem. Mesechta for the unity of Am Yisrael, the month. Eli Nishmas Zechariah Ben Moshe and Eli Nishmas Chaybas Yosef, the month. Refuah Shelama, Devorah Chaya, the mother of Gershon Ben Moshe. Parashat Chodesh, the third one, Hatzlocha L'zechus Yosef Mayer ben Rochel and yidden worldwide. Parashat Shavuot, Mordechai Sapoznick, Lzaicher Nishmas. His grandma just niftar. Faigeh Shprintza, Horav Yitzchok Sapoznick, Shalom Rand, neshama have an aliyah. Second sponsor of the week, Alen Kahen, Yocheved Mina Bat, Avram and Amuna Rivka Bat, Binyamin, Zechariah Rochel. Parashat Mark Schwartzman, Refuah Shelama for dear friend having surgery, Mendel Shmuel ben Devorah Chaya, Refuah Shelama. Second Parashat Shlomo Grumet, Yortzed of my brother-in-law Naftali Rhodes, Naftali Matzio ben David Yosef. Third Parashat Shalom Rand, the famous Shalom Rand, Shlomo Leib ben Refuah Gedalia, Zigfried Lobel. And the Art of the Month sponsored Yosef ben Chai Sorov, all the schusim.com for supporting Limud Torah. Rabbi Yisai were holding Daf Yomi Amud Aleph. So, just yesterday, we had a little bit of a shaila. Machlokes. You see over here the pasuk. It says in the pasuk, "V'snachaltem moisim levnechem acharechem l'resh zachuza." We finished off quickly, so we'll go back. We're not going to go back to Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Don't worry about it. Top of Yud Beis Amud Aleph. There's a comparison between a slave and a karka, real estate. How much of a comparison is there? So, one thing's for sure, you buy a slave the same way you buy a piece of real estate. Kesef, shtar, chazaka. But what other things are they similar in? So we had somewhat of a machlokes. We saw that Ula said halacha. Rav Nachman asked him a question. Ula was a little bit, didn't want to get into it. And he kind of lied. He said, no, don't worry about it. A slave is like metaltalin. You don't go if a yasam, somebody owed a lot of money, apparently pretty wealthy guy, but didn't have a lot of real estate. He died, and he left slaves over for his children. Not a poor guy. He has slaves. Could the one that lent money go after the slaves or not? Rav Nachman held that slaves are like metaltalin. They're movable objects. Yes, they're similar to karka in a way, the way you buy them, certainly, but not in general. And therefore, you cannot go after the Yisayimim for their slaves. And Ula, in the name of Allah, said you could. He didn't want to get into a whole argument. Omar Rav Nachman, Ishtamitan Ula, you try to avoid me. I know you try to avoid me. The two people came to Rav. Each one had a... First guy walks into the Rav, he tells him this whole story. The Rav says, you're 100% right. He leaves. The next guy comes in, tells him this whole story. The Rav looks at him and says, you're 100% right. So the Rebbitzin, she walks in after, she says, I understand. Tell him he's 100% right. You tell him he's 100%, it doesn't make any sense. He looks at her and says, you know what? You're 100% right. Because if it doesn't make a difference, it doesn't make a difference. Let this guy think he's 100% right. Let this guy think everybody's right. Shalom Yisrael. It's very annoying when you tell your wife, you're right. You're right. And all of a sudden she realizes you're just messing with her. They don't like that. So that's an akuda. Like a guy came to Rabbi Yankiv Kamenetsky. He says, what's your minig by Avdallah? Do you stand? Do you sit? He said, my minig is like what my father did. No. And what did your father do? He did exactly what his father did. Ishtamitin. I don't want to get into an argument with you and start telling you, yeah, I'm a Litvak, I sit, and the Hasidim are right, they stand all day. Whatever. Don't worry about it. It's Beseder. I call it good. This is a funny story, actually. The guy comes to Rav Vosner. He says, I need the Rav to sign on a document here that says that a para duma has to wear tzitzis. You hear? He's not listening. Shmooze already. And learning. Okay. Listen to this. A paraduma tzitzis. So Rosa says, give me a piece of paper. He signed. Yeah, a paraduma has the word tzitzis. And the guy went around and he got like another 100 rabbanim, and they all signed the paraduma has the word. What was his svara? He said like this: if a human being could carry objects on his back, and he has to wear tzitzis, so a paraduma that cannot carry anything, not allowed to have certainly he has to wear tzitzis. Well, says you're 100% right. What's enough community? You're not going to have a paraduma now anyway. Good, let you think that it has to wear tzitzis. The bottom line is sometimes you have to be quiet and just pretend everything's good and go weiter. That's what happened. You know, you're right. I'm not getting in target. Says Gemara 3 lines from the top. You'd base them down. There was a story that people were going after the Yisayimim. They didn't have real estate, but they had slaves. And the Dayanim said it's fine that you could take from a Yasam a slave. What does that mean to us? That a slave is like Karka. Slave and real estate is the same. Habu and Pumbedisa, there's a story in Pumbedisa of Agbi Rav Chana bar Bizna. And the same thing Rav Chana bar Bizna said, grab the slaves. Oh, Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman, he didn't like it. Rav Nachman's of the opinion a slave is like metalton. There's no such thing. So he says, Zilu ahadru, you better give everything back. Vin loy, magviralu lapandaichu, you're dying. You made a mistake in a Mefurish Mishnah. If you don't give it back, I'm going to go and take your mansions, your houses. I'm going to just take it from you, your dayanim. Sometimes you cannot take from a dayan, right? If he makes a real mistake that's not before, you don't take away. But if you made a mistake in a Mishnah, everybody has to know a Mishnah. Only Rav Nachman, ha'ula. What do you mean? Why should they have to give anything back? You have ula, first of all. Ha Rebbe Lazar. You have Rebbe Lazar. They all say the opposite of Rav Nachman. Ha Diana Narda. We said just said 2 stories. One from Narda. Vaha, we said from Pumbedisa. Varav Chana bar Bizna from Pumbedisa. Now what? They all hold that a slave is like karka. Mar, come on, Sfirle. And you're of Nachman. You're arguing with everybody, not to the point where you're going to be mechayiv the dayanim to come out of pocket. I know Masnisi Yadana. I know Mishnah. The Tani Avimi. Prusbul chal ala karka. What's a prusbul, Rabbi say? It says very good. It says in the pasuk. He shomer lecha penye doverim levavcha b'liya leim akarvish nasashev nasas shmita. It's almost shmita. V'roi eincha b'achicha evyon, and you're going to have a bad eye to your brother. You're not going to lend him money. You see, it says in the pasuk. The Torah is concerned. It's like somebody just asked me, like if you're allowed to give back bran for a loan, so people are not going to give loans. Yeah, you're right. It's a good child. But over here the Torah says, why would somebody want to give a loan right before Shemitah? When Shemitah comes, it's Meshamet the loan. All loans are batal mavutal. You borrow $1 million, you don't know a cent. The Torah says you don't know, so nobody's going to want to give. It's a sin not to give a loan. Comes Hillel invented a new thing called a prusbul. This is what it looks like. You write a little shtar, and basically you're giving it over to Bezdin. It's as if it's already paid. It's already in the hands of the Malva. Okay, Bezdin does it for you. So the Gemara says, prusbul chal ala karka. You need karka to back up the loan. And then it's kilu like you already were goy with the loan. Ve'in chal ala avodim. So over here is a big problem. This seems like Rav Nachman. That what? Eved does not equal karka. Because you could do a prusbul on a karka. You cannot do prusbul on a slave. So they're not the same, says Rav Nachman. You see from here, a slave and karka is not the same. Metatal niknin ima karka. Metatalin. Okay, so now just going into some halachas. There's something called kinyan agav. Here it is, kinyan agav. Yeah, we learned it in Kiddushin.
On the car.
Oh, so metaltam niknim ima karka. If you purchase karka, you make a kinyan on the karka, then you are kind of all the things that are in the karka. Like for instance, I bought my dira in Ramah Bet Shemesh from a couple that were niftar, so they sold it to me with all the furniture. They asked for more money for the furniture, so I didn't have to make a kinyan and lift up every piece of furniture. I bought the apartment. It included that kinyan included all the movable objects. There was dishes. We basically didn't do anything in this apartment. We didn't buy beds. Everything was there. This is oh, I didn't want to show this one, but okay. This is a bunch of stuff here. This is one way you kind of, he's kind of chatzar together with metaltalin. He's kind of a little yard, which is real estate, and he's kind of the cat, the oven, everything that comes with it. Okay. If a slave has metaltalin and you purchase the slave, you don't acquire the metaltalin. You don't acquire the cat that's on the slave. So what do you see? That a slave does not equal karka. Slave and karka, two different halachas. Says Gemara Lemin Tanoi. Perhaps we have a machlokes Tanoi. If he sold him slaves and karka, so he sold him a bunch of stuff. How do you do a kinyan in a slave? Kesef, shtar, chazaka, just like you do on a karka. Loi kana karkais. Let me see if I have here. This, by the way, is just another older thing. This is kinyan agav. If you kind of that karka, okay, that was the older one. This, I hope it's not too confusing, this chart, but there's different options here. If you purchase a piece of land, you are kind of the metaltalin. What if you purchase metaltalin? Are you kind of karka? No. What if you purchase there's different. So here we go. Hichzik be avadim, machlei kark avadim karkais. Hichzik be avadim. You made a chazaka only on the slaves, like kana karkais. So if you make a chazaka on a slave, you purchase the slave, let's say, with a shtar, you don't get to get the karkais. You have to do another kinyan in the karka. If you made a kinyan in the karkais, bikarkais, like on avadim, that's the first one on the right. Karkais and metaltalin. What if you bought karka and metaltalin? Here's a big karka, kana metaltalin. That's what we said. If you were machzik, you did a chazak in the karka, you automatically get all the movable objects, metaltalin. But if you made a chazak in the metaltalin, like on a karka, it only works one way, from karka to other things, not from other things to karka. Avadim and metaltalin. What if you bought slaves and movable objects? Here's avadim like kana metaltalin. If you made a chazaka on the slaves, like kana metaltalin. Oh, so you see the second last one to the left. You made a king in the slaves, like kana metaltalin. It's red. You aren't kind of the cat. And now I'm going to push this button over here, and over here now it says kana metaltalin. In other words, this is machlokes. That's what we're going to have here. A machlokes just in this case. What could the answer be, Rabbi Isai? Why does one say loy kana metaltalin, one say kana metaltalin? Because if you view Evid as a karka, so you could be kana metaltalin agav the karka. That's called kinyan agav. But if you view a slave just as metaltalin, if I'm kind of this metaltalin, it doesn't mean that I'm kind of this. It's two separate things. But Tanya, the Gemara asks, it's a contradiction. It says, if I make a chazaka on slaves, I am kind of the metaltalin. I have a simple answer. Perhaps that's goof of the machlokes. Are slaves like karka? That's the whole shaila that we're asking today. Is a slave like a piece of real estate? We know we had a pasuk all the way in the beginning, that talks about. I'm not going back. I can't go back there. But the pasuk talks about a karka, talks about a slave. It seems like they're similar. So you can say, yeah, they're similar for some things, not similar for all things. I'll prove it to you. A slave could walk, a karka can't. Maybe there's a difference. No. The kuli almo, you could the Gemara does what the classic Gemara. You could be doichik this way, you could be doichik this way. We don't have a clear riot to anything. The kuli almo avodim karka dami. Maybe perhaps you say a slave is like karka, according to everybody. And then we have a problem about the Tanya kana shapir. But the Tanya like kana. Oh, but the Tanya kana that you say that if you that you could be kind of metaltalin agave eved. That's perfect. Why? Because a slave is like karka. So if you purchase a slave, it comes with all the movable objects. We're going to have a problem. What's the problem? That the Brisa says, loikana. You need a slave that doesn't move. What's the case of a slave that doesn't move? Tie it up, right? Since you guys, all three of you from that one table remembered, what does it look like in the picture?
He's laying down sleeping on a pillow.
You got the teddy bear. You see, I'm trying to say that sometimes these pictures are babyish, immature-ish, but you remember them.
With the irons.
With the chains. There you go. So, says the Gemara, this is a very fancy word. It's designed to confuse everybody. But all it means is movable objects. There's movable and non-movable. Real estate and everything else. Possessions that don't have a guarantee. In other words, movable objects. When you purchase real estate, it comes with all the furniture and all the other stuff, the refrigerator, whatever, the chairs, everything. I purchase it, I give money to buy the property, it includes all the furniture. Typically speaking, you have to do hagbah, mashiach, whatever you have to do. Now when you purchase real estate. How do I know this? Says Chizkiah, listen to this pasuk. Yocheved gave his kids. This is where we learn the whole concept of kinyan agav. Again, what's kinyan agav? I buy a piece of real estate. Agav, how do you say agav in English? By the way, yeah. On the way, I also acquire the movable objects.
By dint of.
Oh, that's too much for me. Too much for me. By dint of. That's how you write it. You don't talk like that. You ever said that to somebody? No. Thank you.
If you buy it,
no.
By virtue of.
Oh, by virtue of. Okay. He gave his kids many gifts. Lekesef, ulazov, v'limigdanois. And listen to this one. Im orei mitzurois b'Yehuda. It should have said ve. He gave them money, gold, and real estate. That's not what it says. It doesn't say ve. And it says with im. What does the word im mean? Kinyan agav. He gave them real estate, and through the real estate they acquired the kesef, the zav, the migdanos. Otherwise, it should just say vi are mitzuros b'Yehuda. What's im? Now, there's a nice question here. There's two things that could have happened there. Maybe they were kind of a kinyan chatzar. Maybe put all the jewelry in the real estate. And when they were kind of the real estate, they acquired the jewelry that's called kinyan chatzar. It's different than kinyan agav. Agav means, by the way, on the way, virtue of concurrently. So the Ksav Sefer says something beautiful. The only way kinyan chatzar works is if you acquire the chatzar, then you acquire something else. So it's a two-step process. It means simultaneously. The only way you can do simultaneously is kinyan agav. Kinyan agav means I'm concurrently, literally. It's simultaneously. It happens. I'm acquiring this real estate, and at the same moment, I'm acquiring the gold. But kinyan chatzar would have to work it slightly different. Would have to be they were kind of arim mitzuros, and a second later through kinyan chatzar they were kind of. It's just a chaf. Okay. Very interesting. The Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Tzadik Aleph says a story. A few stories over there that Yishmael, because I think it's going to get to today. Yishmael comes to Klal Yisrael. They came to Alexander Magdan, says. They said, we want half of Israel, of Eretz Yisrael. Half of Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because we're the son, Yishmael is the son of Avraham Avinu. He gave Yitzchok, so we get half and half. Interesting Gemara. Not that they claim the whole thing, claim half. So the Gemara says there's a person by the name of Yevio ben Pasisa. Look it up over there. And he says, listen, Chacham, I want to argue this. If I win, okay, so it's not me, the Torah won. And if I lose, you just say some loser. He's not even part of Klal Yisrael. He doesn't represent us. He didn't count. Let's send the big guns in there. Okay, so he said, fine, take a shot. Now it happens to be the Gemara brings a few stories that he won. He's pretty good, very good. He comes in there and he says, "What are you arguing with? You bring a right from the Torah? Like what's your thing? Yes, your Torah. From your Torah, it says in your Torah that Yishmael is the son of Avram, so we want half." So he says, then if you're going by the Torah, we learned this week that it says that Avram Nasan Sakal. He gave him everything. That's it. Avram Vayiten Avram is Kol Shalom Yitzchok. It says if you're going to go by the Torah, you have to go all the way. That's it. They were quiet and they walked away. So I thought it's very tzugapast to the matzah that we have now in Eretz Yisrael and what's going on over here. Vayiten lem aviyim matanis rabbis. Vayiten lem Avram is Sakal. Vayiten Avram is Kol Shalom Yitzchok. Fine. Next, Ikadamri, and some say, so now this Gemara is just showing us that we don't have a forced proof. When you have proof, it has to be solid. This is not solid. Why? Because I could dance on both. I could say, if I want, I could tell you a svara that everybody holds a slave is like karka. And now I'm going to go the opposite. So you're not forced in any direction. You know what? The slave is movable. All the time, like Shapir. So Memela, it makes a lot of sense. The bride that says that when a slave holds metaltal in his hand, there's zero kinyan agav. You know why? Because the slave is not karka. Slave is metaltalin. Metaltalin doesn't have a kinyan agav. And this that it says that a slave could be kind of metaltalin because he's wearing it. He's wearing a necklace. Whatever he's doing, he's wearing the jacket. So he's kind of that. Ask the Gemara. When it's on him, so what? The slave cannot be kind of why? Because he's a walking chotzer. So I guess Yoshi wanted the Olam to remember this forever. So he made this chart for the Olam. Enjoy. This is a chotzer. This time a beautiful chotzer he did. But check this out. I like this one. There's a Chotzer Malachas. It even has a little sign that says Chotzer Malachas on it. With the MDY chair, the bike. Huh? Nishlach. Okay, Chotzer Malachas, a walking Chotzer is not kaina. Interesting. How is Chotzer Malachas, this thing right over here, how is it relevant to us today? A droney? A car. Why RV? A car. I have a moving car. I'm driving down the street. Someone takes a bag of Dunkin' Donuts, throws it into my car. Kaina, not kaina. It's a moving chotzer. Yes or no? They talk about it. I don't know what they say, but I know that there's a big needle in the Achronim. Is a car, a moving car, is that a chotzer malachas? You have four walls, just a yachid sort of, but it's a moving chotzer. Okay. Stam is a thing that I was thinking about. Because Baba Kami got to stick Muslim in once in a while. That a person.
It could also be a barber shop.
It is a barber shop. It could be a killing machine. It could be a lot of things. It could be a sukkah. It could be good things, bad things. But when a person wants to take inventory of himself, sometimes the person has to stop. When you're moving, you're chotzim alechas. You can't. It's not good when you're in the grind, the day-to-day grind. Everybody like the 9 to 5 and get up and you go. You don't have time to what's the word I'm looking? Reflect. That's reflect. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, you don't have time to sit back and think for a second. Where am I? What am I doing in my life? How are things going? Great? Not? Where could I improve? You're in this grind. You're chotzim halachas. So that's loikani. You're not kind of ruchnius when you're on the move, so to speak. You have to like stop, think, just take a minute to reflect. So you're gonna say the slave is standing. Who said he's walking like this? Mechtes he's walking. Maybe he's standing still, and therefore he could be kind of metaltalin. Anything that has the ability to move, then even if he's standing, there's no kinyan. Says the Gemara, here, let me show you. So here's the slave that's walking. And here he is, kafos. This is it. I think this is slightly different. But kafos means he's tied down. He's a slave. He's similar to karka, but he's not going anywhere. The whole problem is that he's a chatzar ma'aleches. He's capable of walking. He's not capable of walking. He's tied. And in Mela, he's kind of that teddy bear. Now, what about animals? That whole, I show you a chart with all the sheep and this and that. The chatzar, you bought a piece of real estate, you're kind of animals. Agav that. Aren't they a chatzar? Aren't they mahalach? Aren't they? Maybe that's going to get a little bit further. He's a. Let me see, because Taisus over here brings down Taisus on Yud Beis Amud Aleph. Could be it's more to get to later on. Yeah, let's talk about it later on. Hopefully, I remember. Fine. Says Gemara Vilchas B'Kafos. Now what? That he's holding onto these objects and he's tied down. Therefore, he's kaina. What about, we learned in the Brisa that if you make a kinyan on karka, you are able to acquire the slaves. That doesn't work with what we just said. We said a whole list that if you have karka, you do not acquire the slaves. Says the Gemara, because the slaves are inside the karka, so then you are kaina. Says Gemara, so you're telling me that the brisa that says that it doesn't work, that if you purchase real estate, you don't acquire slaves, must be that they're not in the karka itself. You bought a house, but the slaves are outside somewhere in a different house. That's great if slaves are like metaltala. That's why there's enough kamina whether this metaltala, let's say this computer is inside the house, you're kaina. Outside the house, you're not kaina. A slave is like a computer. He's a metaltalid. So if he's inside the house, kaina. Outside, not. But if you say that a slave has halacha of real estate, why in the world does a slave have to be inside the house? You should remember this sugi also from Kiddushin if you learn Kiddushin. If I sold you 10 fields in 10 different countries, I'll give you an example. I remember I said the example then also. What was the example? I forgot where that chart was. No, but if a guy owns a franchise of hotels, so he has a hotel in Yerushalayim, he has a hotel in New York, so he bought 10 pieces of land, 10 pieces of real estate in 10 different countries. Or like Fisher Klein took me on his boat last night. Was it last night? And he showed me. He told me the names. I don't want to repeat names. This is that from guy that he has a house in Muncie, and here's his house on Indian Island, and here's this guy that has this. This is Jerry Kushner's house, and there's people that have a house here, house there, house here. Yeah, there are people like that. You don't have to come on to crazy examples. Here in Miami, it's like that. So, if I purchase a whole franchise of hotels, do I have to go to each hotel and make a chazaka? Have to travel the world? The answer is no. I just have to change the lock on one hotel in Miami, and all the 10 hotels around the world become mine. Interesting Taisus over here, by the way. There was a guy, I said this story before, because I don't like this guy at all. He's a bad guy. A guy made an announcement that all his fruit in his house, because there's Shemitah and you have to get rid of it, you have to burn it. He said, my apartment with all the fruit is hefker. Comes this chacham from Manishtana and changes the lock on the apartment. He says, you were mafked the apartment with the fruit. I'm cutting the apartment. Do something about it. So he takes it to Bezdin. What do? You have a meshugana. I was not joking, chas v'shalom. I wanted to be mafked my fruit. But I thought that everybody's going to be normal about it and not steal my apartment. He says, no. You're mafker apartment. Hefker's hefker. You're from Yid. You said you're hefker. It's my apartment. So there's an interesting Taisus here, all the way in the bottom, 4 lines from the bottom. And Taisus says, anyway, Taisus says, based on this Taisus maybe, I don't know if it's based on this, but they said, they said, it was hefker. But the guy on the first floor was kainet as kinyan chatzar, because the guy on the first floor owns everything above him. The second floor is right in his property. Just what? When they built it, but once it became hefker, he was kind of. Basically, it was a way to just brush him off and tell him, go fight. It's not your apartment. It's the guy on the first floor, and the guy on the first floor gives it back to him as a matana. But it's interesting because Taisa says here that there's no kinyan agav on karka. You can't purchase a piece of property agav another piece of property. If you buy the first floor, you can't acquire the second floor as agav, but you could acquire it as kinyan chatzar, he says. Okay. Huh? Something like that. Not really, but okay. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. All right. Zog the Gemara. At least the Alen was paying attention here in Miami. It's Givaldik. So where are we? Magla is a Sados? No. See here the question. If a slave is a piece of real estate, and I bought this real estate here in Miami, so the slave he has in New York should be nikna automatically, just like I'm kind of this piece of karka, I'm kind of all my karkais around the world, including the slaves that are like karka. Why does a slave have to be on top of the karka, in the karka? So he explains to him beautifully, and you probably remember this answer from there as well. So whoa, let me turn it around and ask you a question, and based on this question, you'll have an answer to your question as well. According to you, that's you say that a slave is a movable object. What? So what if it's a metaltalin? Why does he have to be inside the karka? You base him in base. We already established that the metaltalin, the movable objects that are nikna with the karka, don't have to be on the karka. They can be anywhere. The kinyan agav works even if it's somewhere else. Oh, you have to say that there's a difference between movable objects that move, that run away. A slave is a movable object that moves. So even if you say that a slave is karka, but it's a moving karka. So that was an interesting svara that we had over there in Kiddushin. The Gemara says it here as well. The earth is all connected. The entire earth is connected. So when I purchased the hotel here in Miami, the hotel in Eretz Yisrael is connected to it through the earth. So I make a kinyan there, I make a kinyan there. But a slave is not connected to the ground. And Memela, he is not nikna agav that kinyan. The question is, what about an animal? You're telling me that when I'm a kaina, a karka, I cannot be kaina something that moves. All animals move. So Taisus makes a distinction. Yes, they move, but they don't have das. It's not moving. It's not the point that they're moving. The point is that it's an object that decides to move to different places on his own, like a slave. That's why he can't be kaina. Animals not like that. Fine. Says the Gemara. Nechasim shein b'hem mila. It says in the Mishnah, right? We just had a new Mishnah, Daf Tes, that if a person damages an animal that's not owned by a private citizen, he's potter. And the Mishnah uses interesting lashon. If you damage an animal that doesn't have me'ila, what does me'ila mean? Me'ila means the isser for you to benefit from an object owned by the Beis Hamikdash. If there's no isser me'ila, then you're chayiv. If there is isser me'ila, then you're potter. The Gemara wonders, why do you have to say such an interesting lashon? Just say, if it's an animal owned by a private citizen, you're chayiv. Not by a private citizen, you're potter. What's this ein me'ila? So the Gemara's medayek, milu de lesbehu homik de shikachi. Well, there is a third category here. There's something that does have kedusha. In other words, it's owned by the Beis Hamikdash, let's say, but you are not over on me'ila. What's that? So if you damage that kind of animal, you would be chayiv. What's a good example for that? Says the Gemara Mantana. Interesting. We're doing a little bit of kachim here. Not to be worried and scared. It's geshmak stuff and easy. But there's two things. There's kachim and kachikalim. Kachim, all the major korbanos, like a chatas, asham, kachim. Kachikalim are the lighter ones. Shlamim, Karban Pesach, Taida, easy ones. So kachikalim, what happens if you damage a chatas? That's 100% Beis Hamikdash. It's Hashem's, Ayla, potter. But what if you damage an animal that's a shlamim. Shlamim you take to the Beis Hamikdash, you shecht it, and you get to eat it. The Kohanim get to eat, right? So, who owns it? Is it Hashem's? It's yours? It's private? What is it? So somewhere in between. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Bekachim Kalim, Baliv the Riyaseg Lili, Da Amar, Mamain Baalim Hu. A shlamim is considered that it's owned by the owner. We're going to see soon it means before you shechted it. This Sanya, Umalo Mal Bashem. Okay, so first of all, we have this passage that we had the other day. When your bull damages your friend's bull, it has to be your friend, Re'eyu, not Hashem's. Now, this pasuk says, Nefesh kisechto umalo mal b'Hashem. V'kichish ba'amiso b'bekol mizum ziyad. We're talking about here, a guy gave how do you say, collateral? I'm losing my language here. How do you say because in English? Collateral? Okay, collateral. Thought there's a better one. Fine. But it says, Mal Mal Bashem. There's something to do with Hashem here. And then it says, Ba'amisoy, in his friend. So, you see, there's only one word in between, Vikichesh. On the one hand, it's Mal Mal Bashem, it's Hashem's. On the other hand, it's his friends. What's an object in this world that's a little bit of Hashem's and a little bit of yours? Now, don't be a tzaddik. Oh, everything, your Gemara. I'm talking about when it comes to Karbanas. You have a carbon that's 100% Hashem's, aliyah, chatos, asham, and you have kachim kalim. That's what Rabbi Yitzchok says. This pasuk talking about that you had a collateral that was kachim kalim. He gave you an animal that was already designated as a shlamim, let's say, as a carbon pesach, kachim kalim, and you went and you lied and you said you don't know what happened. So you have to pay a chaimish, the whole thing. So, but Rabbi Yitzchok says it's talking about kachim kalim, and it's considered the owners. L'Rabbi's kachim kalim shema moina. The Rabbi Yitzchok fine. But now we learned in the Mishnah, Amkash b'chelkai. You hear this? A guy takes a piece of a carbon and tells a woman, "Hared mikudeshesli." You see this pulka over here? It's mine. Hared mikudeshesli. Does it work? Bein mikachim kachim, bein mikachim kalim, einu mikudeshes. Doesn't work. Why? It's not his. Lema the Rabbi Yitzchok. Rabbi Yitzchok just said it is his. It's mamoinai. It's considered his. Says Gemara, if you look at Rabbi Yitzchok. Rabbi Yitzchok says when the animal's alive, it's his, and he can be mekadesh the woman with the whole animal. Over there, we're talking about the animal's already shechted. There's already zrikas adam, so already got gedusha, and now he takes that piece and he says, "Oh, it's not yours." We always have the shaila, right? You go to a wedding. Could you take the meal at the wedding and say, "I with that meal"? Is it yours? Not yours. It's yours to eat, not to do business with. Maybe I don't know. Over here, it's a similar shaila. It's yours to eat. Yes, you're allowed to eat it, but it's not yours to sell. It's not yours to be mekadesh a woman with it, to do business with it. And then why is a better lashon than that? You're eating from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's table. It's not yours. Yes, he allows you to eat, but it's not that much yours. Not yours to the point where you can take it and be mekadesh a woman. Now the Gemara says, okay, fine. When it's dead, we agree that even basically he says it's kadosh. It's not yours. But when it's alive, does he really argue and say it's yours? So bechar, firstborn animal. By the way, it's a big problem even today. Firstborn animal has kedusha. How do we get away? How do we get around it? How do we buy a steak in the store? Maybe we're buying a bchar. We're not allowed to eat it.
No, today they care.
What do? What do? No. How do you hear this, Avremi? How do you eat steak today? Maybe it's a bchar. Maybe it's a firstborn animal.
No, but you have to count it. They make sure not to count it.
No, that's something else. That's meiser. Meiser's counting every 10. Boom. A bchar is a firstborn animal. Has kedusha and pet rechem. It's right away. It's I don't know pet rechem. It's chodesh right away. Oh, you have to have a shut of a guy. You have to make sure that the guy is a partner. That's why if you have a hechsher, whatever it is, I'm sure they do something about it. Anyway.
to a Kohen? You gave the.
No, I gave the Matnas Kuhuna. Matnas Kuhuna is every animal that you shecht. You take the jaw and the keva, some of the stomach, and the shoik, a little bit of this. You give it to the Kahen. Adiyim is it, they do it. You give it to the Bas Kahen also. That's something else. We just confused three things together. Rabbi, so you see what's going on here? We just confused the Bechar with Meiser and Matnas Kuna. It's all good. That's why, because we live in this world in America. We have no clue it's flying. We don't know. Seriously, we don't live it. It's not important to us. We're not farmers. We don't shecht. We don't care. We just go to the store, get a pound of meat, and Shalom Yisrael. They used to live it. Like everybody had a couple of sheep and a couple of this. Firstborn, you had to know this is the b'char. Oh, you have to give it to the Kahen. Take it and give it to the Kahen. And if it's a mum, what do you do with it? Doesn't have a mum. It's a whole sugya. What about in America? Is the b'char in America? What's not? B'char moichin oisai. The Kahen could sell the b'char tam when he's without a mum, chai when he's alive. Ubal mum, and if he has a mum, let's say his ear, today they pierce the ears and they put a number over there. That's a mum. What do? You're not allowed to do it on purpose. You do it, it's an isser, right? Because all the Kayanim want to do it, so they don't have to bring it to the Beis Hamikdash. They can eat it like that. So if it's b'mum, you could sell it even if it's shechted. It's yours to give it to a woman. So he says that's only in our days. Why? We don't have a mizbeach, we don't have a Beis Hamikdash. So the Kohanim, it's theirs. But when we had a Beis Hamikdash, the Chazal Krava, they could put it on the mizbeach. Loy, it's not yours. It's not yours to give it to be mikadosh one. Basically, Rav Nachman to Rav asked his Rebbe, Rav Nachman Umalam Al Bashem, l'Rabbi's Kachim Kalam Shema Moinai. The Rebbe Yosef Glili. So Rav asked Rav Nachman, Rebbe Yosef Glili holds that it's yours. Oh, it's yours. That's only talking about when the Bechar is in America. But leave it to Rishimin. The Amar in both Mimim Yikruvu. If animals, if means it's not the best thing to do, but if somehow an animal showed up from America to Eretz Yisrael, then you put it on the Mizbeach. In you shouldn't. But according to Rabbi Yosef Glili, that it's yours, you can do whatever you want with it. That's the Gemara's point. The Gemara wants to say, did Rabbi Yosef Glili really say that when it's alive, it's yours? And a b'char is kashim kalam, right? Just like something else. With Shani, so the Gemara should answer, Horav Yitzchok Rabbanan. Not everybody agrees with the Rabbi Yosef Glili. Rabbanan argue. And the Rabbi Yosef Glili says it's yours, Rabbanan say it's not yours. You're talking about a b'char. A b'char is one of the 24 gifts that a kohen gets that he's entitled to. Shani matas kuna, because that's different. A matana of kahuna is not the kohen's ever. He has the option of eating it, but it's not his. Hashem says you could eat it, but not yours to do business with. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day. Shkoyach for coming. Tomorrow is the last day. Bezer Shem, 9:00.